So, there are Holocaust survivors, and I know that, that's, people need to have respect. I don't know how many Holocaust survivors speak specifically about what is going on now as being no different. I would really hope that there are some who do that and who, of course, are safe because no one in this country is completely safe. But a person should be able to read those stories, listen to those stories, and think about what is going on in this country and know that they're the same goddamn thing. It's the same fucking thing. But here's what I'm going to say. I want to exclude someone whose parents were Holocaust survivors and who fought in Vietnam, who does a lot to try to help prevent war and things like that. But I'm going to talk about someone who used to be a friend. Is he still a friend? I'm going to say right now I don't think so because that person, that person has avoided me, I suppose. Has decided I'm not worthy of friendship, and yeah, well, what's that about? And if that's not true, then maybe he can show that. you know, Someone whose grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. So he and his sister, who, I think she teaches at West Point, when descendants of Holocaust survivors are not speaking out about what is going on in this country, there is a problem. And that needs to start to happen. And no, none of us are safe. And we could keep that in mind under scrutiny in ways, perhaps. There's surveillance. We know that. Some of us have been threatened. Plenty of us, how many of us are survivors of extreme violence? The person that I'm talking about was held in, Central America for 3 months after being abducted when he was there as a human shield, all right, in the 1990s. So, but he's the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. Again, his sister is the grandchild of a Holocaust survivor. There are plenty of descendants of Holocaust survivors, and maybe there are people who are doing something, who are trying to do things, vigils outside of that horrifying place in the Everglades. But people need to start being more vocal. When we think about the Holocaust Museum, how do we help these things converge enough in people's minds before it is really too late? I'm reading letters from children in detention. Mostly what I feel is depression. If children start being drugged for that shit, really, people need to think about this. And it could be taken to the next step of people being killed like they were in Europe, and it has to be put to an end. I could talk about my first tattoo, and some people might say, "You're just crazy." Well, what was that? As a child, I knew I wanted a tattoo when I grew up. I got my first tattoo after I had been forced inpatient. There's a whole story, and is it complicated? Maybe just a little fucking bit. Maybe just a little bit. It really, should I be annoyed when artificial intelligence puts Holocaust, the Shoah, and all that at the bottom anytime I make a video where I put the word Holocaust in the title? I am a little bit. People need to acknowledge that history, not ignore it, and to not at all accept anti-Semitism. And some people will say, "You're anti-Semitic because you don't like me and you don't like what I'm doing." That's a real wrong attitude, and that's a real wrong idea. And that is what gets some of it going, perhaps. A person that says, "I am Jewish, so I am special." There is a problem with that. Everyone is special. A person that says, a person that uses being Jewish as a firewall for dissent, that is a problem. That is a problem. In Israel, what the hell? Really, we have to acknowledge how militaristic Israel is. And over what time frame did that happen? And yeah, we have to be able to speak out in this country, whether we're Jewish or not. I mean, I have been treated badly because I am not. I have been ignored because I am not. I have been harmed because I am not. I wasn't raised Jewish. So even if I have Jewish roots, I don't think I can say I am Jewish. And I have been harmed because I am not. With a person using being Jewish as a firewall, someone thinking he can do any goddamn thing at all. Yeah, and it's today the Sabbath. I mean, what does he do? Make excuses for harm he is doing. Perhaps. Perhaps. There is holocaust going on in this country. Holocaust is more than what happened in Europe, and that was more than people who were Jewish. That was gypsies. That was people who were said to be mentally defective, mentally deficient, mentally ill. Yeah, that is how it started. And in this country, there is a holocaust against people use the word immigrants. There are also, I mean, it's broader than that, but yes, that is there is indigenous, there's holocaust going on against indigenous people. People trying to go to safety, bouncing from one country to another, and it's not safe in any fucking country. And why is that? We could talk about colonization. We could talk about history, we could talk about monarchies. There's a whole lot of shit. We could talk about people's real complex roots, but again, descendants of Holocaust survivors have to start talking out about what is going on in this country. Some of us are doing every goddamn thing we can do. Yeah. If I know that if I go to a protest, I could see someone shot or be shot myself, am I going to go? I mean, I stopped going to things like that in 2017 because it was not safe. Because in Knoxville, a hate group said they would be at a protest. So why would I go knowing someone could be shot? Knowing I could be shot. Do I want to be shot? Haven't I been through enough fucking hell? I've been through some hell. So here is what I am going to say again. Descendants of Holocaust survivors have to start speaking out. Speaking out. We have to put an end to this. Children in detention centers. There is nothing acceptable about that. Pediatricians speaking out, they could be at risk of political persecution. That is how bad it is in this country. We were more or less in Nazi Germany. That's basically what it is in this country, but with different things going on than specifically, I mean, when we look when we look at history in the past, we see some of it, but we don't see everything. We don't see everything that went on and that was going on. But we should be able again to look, yeah, yes, it's the same thing. It's the same goddamn thing. Children in detention, separated from their families. Yeah. Do I need to say anything at all about DH fucking S? Children separated from their families. A child, adolescent, teenager old enough to say they feel depressed, or maybe someone told them that they do. Then being drugged. No, it fucking has to end. And what am I going to say? If descendants of Holocaust survivors that are silent about this do not start speaking out, I have the least bit of sympathy if something harmful happens.